Hello guys, so in this week's video we are actually going to be taking a trip down memory lane because it has been 10 years since I actually switched up my art style, but it has also been 10 years since I first came onto this platform. It's not the age of the channel, but it is the amount of time that I've been uploading YouTube videos, so I do feel a sense of nostalgia. The original idea for this video was actually to talk about my progression of digital art, and then I kind of came to realise that my digital art was very linked to my traditional art and the way I do that. So I thought, well, since we're coming up on 10 years, why not do both? Why not tell the full story as it was? So this video is just gonna be me telling my art journey. But before I tell you about my art journey, just to explain the artwork in the background, for those of you who want to watch the speed paints, they're actually of speed paints or pieces of artwork that just have not seen the light of day. The first speed paint is of my Toon Me challenge. After that is a really rough piece that I did for Alec Benjamin's song Mind is a Prison. I was just listening to that song on repeat when I was doing that piece. And when the music video came out, I needed to get it all out of my system. Fun fact, I did that piece on Christmas Eve. The third speed paint of this video is of a collab that never seen the light of day. That is because me and Jenna, we bit off more than we could chew. We were both very busy over Christmas, and Christmas was just a lot in general. And guess who made the very bad decision to try and do a collab very last minute? We did! I think me and Jenna are known at this point for making terrible last minute decisions like this. Since this is a collab that featured half of Jenna's piece, I did actually ask Jenna permission if I could post the unaired footage, and she gave me the go-ahead. So let's actually rewind the clock a bit, just before 2010, before I made this switch up in my art journey. Up to this point, I had been doing stuff for school. I'd always enjoyed drawing as a kid, and I knew I wanted to be an artist. However, my artwork never really had any direction up until that point. Now, I've had the question in the past, how long have you known you wanted to be an artist? Now, I've known ever since I was 7 years old. Like many children, I used art as a form of escape from family drama that was happening at the time. The stuff that was always drawn for primary school and high school was drawing from life, so drawing fruit bowls, drawing shoes, plants, you name it, we drew it. And I really wish I had those sketchbooks to show you guys because I vividly remember those pictures. But they've been lost to time. I vividly remember exactly what those sketchbooks look like as well, so it really sucks that they don't exist anymore. Or at least to my knowledge, they don't exist anymore. I think the seeds that was the creativity that is my everyday life now was actually in year 7, so 2008. It was an English project where you had to write a fictional story. My fictional story was very bad, but the basic premise was kind of like the Tinkerbell movies. Bearing in mind, this was before Tinkerbell movies existed, and I was 11. And it's weird actually remembering it because, looking back, I did an entire world map for it. What does that sound like to you? Because that sounds like the beginnings of me right now. But after that English class finished, and I finished off the project and the story, the characters still lingered in my head. It's like they never went away. Stepping forward into 2010, there was this new site on the block. Well, it wasn't really new, but it was news to me. My friends Bryony and Ashley were talking about YouTube, and Ashley at the time already had a YouTube channel. Ashley was already 13 at the time, so she was able to sign up with her proper age and have a YouTube channel properly. However, me and Bryony, we were slightly younger than Ashley, and we were still 12 when we both signed up to YouTube. However though, my birthday was March 27th, and I signed up March 12th because I was too excited about this new site. Well, not new, you know what I mean. I was essentially 13. I was essentially 2 to 3 weeks off being the age of 13, so I was not that far off. I'm a rebel, but not that much of a rebel. I explained all this because my art journey actually coincided with my YouTube journey. However though, in the beginning, they were separate. So early 2010, I became a channel that created music videos of my characters, and I was into a certain fandom, big cringe. It was 1990s Alvin and the Chipmunks. Oh, I still cringe about it to this day, but it was a part of my art journey, and I just have to think about it from the perspective of, if I hadn't have gone through all that cringe, I wouldn't be the artist I am now. And I know some of you like to remind me that you used to follow me on DeviantArt and found me through the cringe fest that was my chipmunk artwork. My videos never really featured any of my artwork, mainly because I didn't know how to get it digital. However, once I learned how to scan my artwork, in August of 2010, that is when I started uploading my artwork and I started just drawing a lot to just shove it on DeviantArt. It's why in my DeviantArt Reacts videos, I've got over 3,000 Deviantitions to actually see and scroll through, which reminds me I should do another one of those videos. I have no idea when I'll get around to making the next video for that series. However, I do enjoy looking back at those videos. They are probably some of my favourites on the channel. So my life on the internet had just practically started when I came across digital art. Now, the way I started doing digital art was actually on Paint, MS Paint, where I would take the scans of my artwork, put it into MS Paint, and actually very, very carefully trace around all the drawn lines and use my traditional sketch as a base. Now, bearing in mind, at the time, I had no idea that there was a concept such as a drawing tablet, so I did all of this with a mouse. And even when I found out about drawing tablets later on, I was very, very fussy and stubborn and just would not have doing artwork with a drawing tablet. And back in my time, all of the drawing tablets, they didn't even call them drawing tablets, they called them graphics tablets, and I still to this day refer to them as graphics tablets from time to time. So yeah, I feel a bit old by admitting that. Drawing tablets and graphics tablets was such an alien concept back then that nobody I asked about them in real life in places like Curry's or PC World or any of the computer stores around knew what it was. But I did actually manage to find one. At the time, it was only PC World, not Curry's PC World. Even when I found it, the shop assistants were very confused by it. This tablet was a Trust brand tablet. When I got it home, it didn't even work. It was £15, and back then, £15 was a lot of money for me. And let me be frank, the tablet was awful. My bad experience with drawing tablets is actually what led to my stubbornness with accepting graphics tablets in my life. After that Trust tablet, I did get a couple of other graphics tablets, mostly from Lidl or Aldi, you know, in those middle sections of Lidl and Aldi, where they sell the weirdest combination of stuff. And both of those tablets were kind of the same. They were basically exactly the same build and they looked exactly the same. They were silver with 2 rocker rings at the top and hotkeys. There were 2 branding, but one brand I do remember out of the 2 was Silvercrest. Now this was a slightly better tablet. I had a better experience with it. However, looking back at it, I think I installed the drivers wrong because it was a very jittery pen. Back then was really the Wild West of drawing tablets, and I didn't know I had to uninstall drivers of old tablets before installing new ones. Over this period of time where I was very finicky and fussy with tablets, I decided to actually pursue digital art without the use of a tablet. I mainly did this with the help of programs like GIMP and Paint Tool Sci. GIMP is essentially a watered down Photoshop, and with Paint Tool Sci, the main thing that I used was line work layers and Curve Tool. And how I would do my digital art is I would scan my traditional sketches and I would trace the lines of my traditional sketch and then colour it on separate layers once I was done with the sketch. I would sometimes also colour in the sketch digitally just by doing layer blending modes. This really cringy concoction of digital art with no tablet, chipmunk fandom artwork and original characters, and chucking every last sketch that I did in my school planner on DeviantArt for the world to see, making cringy music videos around these characters, eventually incorporating my artwork as I got better throughout the years. But that wasn't the only thing that got better. As my art skills improved, so did my video editing. And I was making videos a lot more frequently back then because they were just so much fun to do. I really enjoyed testing out and trying new effects with Sony Vegas, testing and pushing my limits. On a storytelling front, if any of you have looked back through my DeviantArt gallery, there is some attempts at storytelling and actually creating a really big universe. However though, I got really overwhelmed and I had no idea how big I could make things. To the point where a lot of times I dumbed down my idea because I was scared of going too over my head with things. This is very apparent when you actually look in my DeviantArt gallery and you look up the characters Brandon and Amelia. They are some of my older characters that I have, and I've actually revived them for my current character universe. There are definitely a few older characters that I had in my past, which I actually still have to this day, one of them being Bethany. Bethany is probably the oldest example of this because she was a character that was created in December of 2010. And the fact that it is 2020 and she still exists in my character roster says a lot. She may not be exactly the same as she was back in 2010, but there are certain elements like her being part genie and part wizard. Those are things that are still intact. At the beginning of 2013, my enthusiasm for the fandom that I was in died down. It's like I became on the outskirts a lot and I was branching out of that art style. 2013, I feel for me artistically, was one of the years where I changed my art style completely. Now 2010, I had completely switched around my entire art style, but this one was more of a year of trying to find the particular art style that I wanted in that particular genre. I had a anime manga kind of style, I had a total drama island sort of style at one point, I had a Disney-esque style, and this was actually the year that I started college. So God knows what my teachers thought of my art style, because I was going through an art style existential crisis. Also, 2013, it's when life just decided to throw me a bowling ball instead of a tennis ball to catch. But I think once I got into college, I actually started to improve. And this happened also in university as well. In my first 2 weeks of college, I felt like I improved so much. And I think it was the change of environment and being around people who had a mutual understanding and just mutual passions in general. Now, for those who don't know, I did a BTEC in graphic design for college, and in university, I did a BA single honours in illustration. 2013, that is when I actually started to use my graphics tablet more. I had finished high school and was going into college to take that graphic design course. But not only was it the year of art existential crisis and entering college, it was also the year that I started doing YouTube properly for my artwork. Originally, my channel's name was Official Snowy Zoe. Now, that channel did not last very long because Google decided to implement Google Plus at the time, and I just got confused with trying to change all my settings on my existing channel, so I just decided, you know what, let's delete that channel so it does not exist anymore, start a new channel, and just re-upload some of my old videos that I'd done for my original channel. Now, that channel is this channel right now. I never thought I would ever thank Google+, but I just want to thank it for being so bad that I decided to delete an entire channel with 30 subscribers at the time, which was a lot for me, to start over. And if you've ever seen my YouTube custom link as Snowy Simply Draws Stuff, that was because that was the original YouTube name that I decided for myself. Now, I have gotten this question on live streams before: what YouTube artists influenced me to start making art YouTube videos? Well, really speaking, there wasn't really any around my time. It was very, very sparse on the internet. The only art YouTuber I really knew of at the time was Mark Crilly, and even then, I didn't really watch his content all that often. Because college had taken over my life at the end of 2013, it took me a while to actually start uploading YouTube videos. Plus, I didn't really have a camera and a tripod setup, which I could use easily and freely. It was always a hassle, and I just had to set everything up, and it was really low quality. And that Christmas, I actually got my very first camera for my YouTube videos. It was a camera that took AA batteries and decided to swallow them whole every 30 minutes. My first proper video to this channel was actually on New Year's Day of 2014. That's why when people ask about my anniversary of the channel and people celebrate it, I personally celebrate it every New Year, because that's when I feel like I fully started the channel. But yes, I can see why people would celebrate the date the channel was created. One of my first few videos was actually me drawing and painting Elsa from Frozen. It didn't age very well, but I decided to send it to Bailey J, who at the time was still going by Bailey Creations and was doing male videos on her main channel. It was during her hiatus of male videos between the second and third episode, and I'd completely forgotten that I'd sent her any piece of artwork because it had been so long. It was only when I saw a YouTube notification of her new video that I remembered, oh yeah, I sent her something ages ago. I wonder if she got it. So I sat there for the whole video just watching it, and I think around the 35-36 minute mark, that is where my package comes up. I'm just excited that she's received it and she likes it. I wasn't expecting anything to come out of this at all. I was just being a supportive fan of Bailey. I looked up to her a lot. I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people in this community, where she was the first person that really introduced the artist community to Copics. I know that isn't true for everybody, but I know that's true for a lot of people, including myself. But I woke up the next morning to find that people had subscribed to me from that video, and I had passed 100 subscribers. I was beyond ecstatic. I just had no idea what it was at first, because I didn't think that it would have that much of an impact, especially with my placement in the video being so late as well. I didn't think anyone would even be interested in any of my work. And she gave me such good tips for starting off my YouTube channel, because one of the questions I asked was about YouTube and how I would be a better YouTube artist. And because I'm doing this video, I actually went back and watched that bit where she featured me back in 2014, and it's so wholesome, and it makes my heart just swell. Over the years, as my YouTube channel grew, my art started to get better as well. I think having the YouTube channel allowed me to keep a visual reference of how well I was improving over the years. Some of the earliest videos to take off on my channel, and still to this day, are some of my most viewed videos on my old sketchbook tours. Looking back on it, I was actually really surprised at how far my artwork has come from 2010, because those sketchbooks actually show my transition from the beginning of when I turned my art style 180 degrees to a more cartoony style. My personal opinion of those videos is that it was very brave to upload that, because they were my old sketches. They were something that I look on now and cringe, but that willingness to show my old work, to show where my art style came from, has always been a huge part of my channel. and a huge part of who I am. In 2014, I decided to start creating characters. I was still on DeviantArt a lot, doing roleplays with my friends, just talking as characters. I've always loved creating characters and just making my own worlds up in my head. And my artwork was a way to express that. Between 2014 and 2017, I had 7 main characters featured on the channel: Melissa, Loki, Jalal, Rocco, Reese, Bethany, and Skylar. And I know that some people would say that the Meet the OCs videos were actually a point of introduction for my videos in general, because I don't know whether I was the first person to do Meet the OC videos, but as far as I'm aware, I think I might have been. But through these videos, people were starting to get more invested in my characters, and so was I. I really wanted to do more with my characters instead of them just floating in a void with their universe seemingly connected, but it was all a disjointed mess. During college and then subsequently university, I had more of an idea of how to build a character properly, and I knew I wanted to attempt the character universe idea that I'd had oh so long ago. I felt better equipped to deal with this idea because back when I first thought of it, it was very overwhelming and I felt like I didn't have the skills to even attempt it. And even to this day, I still feel a little bit overwhelmed by it. But I'm so glad that I started it, because once I started it, I just fell down this whole rabbit hole of character universe. And it just keeps building and building, and there's so much lore that in the end, I decided to call this world Marriner. 1, it's a play on my surname, and 2, Mariana's Trench. It's as deep as, if not deeper. And this project can branch out so many different ways. I can do YouTube videos on it, about its history. I could also do Sims content, which I have started doing on Instagram. Admittedly, I have started to become very obsessed. I will leave my Sims Instagram down below in the description if you want to follow that. I could make it into a YouTube Sims series, but I am holding back because of technical limitations and also because I'm doing part of that story in my webtoon comic, Interconnected. I've based the last 2 years of Inktober around telling the stories of my character universe, and the amount of lore has just built up so much over the years. But it's also improved my storytelling and my artwork quality. Back in 2017 to 2018, I was very obsessed with Holly Brown. I really loved her personality. It was something about it that was just so refreshing compared to other artist YouTubers. Not that I didn't enjoy other artist YouTubers, it's just she stood out from the crowd. And yes, she's a little bit on the controversial side of the artist community. However, something that she said very early on about Purgatory, her comic series, really stuck with me. Having a long-term project is not a bad thing. It's just trying to get started is the hard part. It wasn't those exact words, but it was a something along those lines of having a long-term project. Because of my stubbornness not to really learn the ins and outs of a graphics tablet, I picked up a lot of different programs very easily because I spent less time fiddling with the tablet and more time messing around with the features of each of the programs that I was testing. Over time, I got more used to using a drawing tablet. My Cintiq 13 HD is my baby, and nobody can change my mind. And as I said before when I was explaining the bit about the graphics tablets, Wacom was definitely the turning point for me in terms of liking graphics tablets and being able to use them. But with the programs, I learned Photoshop, Paint Tool Sci. Obviously, I had an idea of Sony Vegas, so it made learning other programs that I had to use in university and college a lot easier to handle. I fell in love with Paint Tool Sci in early 2011, and I used it up until about 2019. In 2019, I completely ditched it for Clip Studio Paint because it was on a Black Friday sale. I brought it, I tried it out, and I love it. It's kind of like a mixture of Photoshop and paint tool SAI all in one, and it's got a lot of features that are really helpful when making my comic as well. So although I wouldn't completely swap out Photoshop for Clip Studio Paint. I finished university at the end of May of 2018, and I graduated early November of 2018 because Worcester is weird. I graduated university with a 2-2 in illustration. In my last year of university, I know some people have heard this before, but I lost my granddad, and that had a huge toll on my mental health. It was the first big loss in the family that I had ever experienced. This caused development to stop with my artwork, my YouTube content, any projects that I was working on. It was stopped immediately in its tracks. University was halted for an entire 2 weeks. And the only thing that brought me out of that dark place that I'd managed to fall into over that 2-week period was drawing my Animal Crossing Pocket Camp character in my sketchbook. I've always used artwork as an escape. No matter what I draw, it's a way to leave reality behind for me. And I think in that moment, I returned to my roots. So it's now 2020, and what does my artist journey look like? Well, at the moment, I am starting to get back on track with video uploads, and I'm trying to navigate what I want to do. I have a lot of ideas and not a lot of time to pull them all off. If you've seen my 2020 videos so far, you'll know that 2020 has been very busy for me. And it turns out something incredible happened at the beginning of February, and I had no idea up until this week. And it does relate back to my art journey, because the amazing thing that happened was I was featured on Wacom's official blog for your favourite trending artists in 2020, next to Loish. Apparently this was a community poll based thing. I honestly had no idea this kind of thing existed. And the fact that I made that list next to one of my favourite digital artists is incredible. And on the official Wacom blog, the graphics tablet company that got me to like graphics tablets. And I would have been none the wiser if it wasn't for one of my subscribers who told me about it. They said it was a popularity poll and that she voted for me. Turns out, maybe a couple of other people voted for me as well. I don't know. Again, I don't know how it works. But if you did vote for me, thank you. I'm still overwhelmed by this entire thing. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was really fun just to sit back and reflect on the last 10 years. And yes, some parts of this video are very incoherent in terms of order, but that's how I lived it, so I can't really explain it any other way. I know there's things that I missed, but as far as I'm aware, I feel like this video does a decent job at summing up the last 10 years of my art journey. I want to thank you so much for listening or watching this video, and if you liked it, you can like and subscribe if you haven't already with post notifications on, for post notifications for every time I upload or occasionally live stream. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!